My name is Dr. Akaila Kamaat, and I am an assistant professor at George Mason University. The Department of Communication is my main academic home because I do health communication. However, I'm jointly positioned in the Women and Gender Studies program and in the African American Studies program. I define maternal mortality as the death of Black women during one of the most beautiful times of their life, when they should be enjoying the birth of their child. I describe it as an epidemic in America. Globally, first of all, Black women die the most in childbirth. And then in the United States, we have the highest death rate across women of diverse ethnicities and race. So there are some real issues. So that's how I would define it, through, one of the most joyful times, and how it's actually really a scary time if you're living in America, wanting to have a baby and be a Black woman. If you know the statistics, there's fear about even going in to have the child. You also are concerned with if your provider is going to be racially concordant or friendly to you as a Black woman. I know for me, when I was pregnant, I was impacted horribly. I remember and recall vividly that I was trying to have a natural birth and was forced to do a C-section. And during the C-section, I was throwing up, and the doctors were talking about golf, not even paying any attention to me. And then when they pulled my son out, they had to life flight him away, and I didn't know whether he was going to live or die, because when the doctors came up to me and told me he had massive pneumonia, which was untrue. But just the stress of that, the stress of having to go through these issues that we go through, I think it's a threat, and I think it's very distressing. And that's how it affects Black women. And there are so many who just don't know about these issues. There are so many who just blindly just go forth with what the doctors say. I had a midwife all the way up until I had to get the C-section, and I would have had a doula. But when we're going to the clinical route, it's less intimate. Thus, you're left at the hands of your doctors and the surgeons and the people who are not really engaged with you as a person. So they don't really understand the plight that Black women face. Everybody I know, there must be about, through life, I'm thinking about 20 Black women who've had complications. Almost everyone in my family has had a complicated birth, could have passed away, child could have passed away. So I'm gonna say it's about 20 women. That's a lot, to know who've had, and that's just me. Just think about how that doubles with other Black women who know women who've had complications. And again, I myself is one of those 20. And this leaves trauma. You could get PTSD from having a baby as a Black woman here in America. So, there's trauma. And I'm thinking all the mental health things, the stress. One of the most common is the mental health issue, postpartum depression. And it can cause some severe issues, mental health issues. If I had to list the maternal health disparities, first I would start with the inequities, because the inequities create the disparities. There's unequal care between Black and white women due to structural racism. Now that creates the health disparities. And the disparity is that Black women die at higher rates than all women across races and ethnicities. And their infants die at higher rates across all other infants across race and ethnicity. Those are two huge disparities. Black women are more likely to have a C-section. That's another disparity. Black women are many times not understood for their social situation or worldview, which is very important, because that's like how we see our realities. Another disparity would be, again, the way in which money is funneled to centers that would be able to help women, especially low-income women, the way in which money is not being funneled into some of these federally qualified health centers to really help Black women sort of reduce this number of mortality. I think the way we can resolve the issues around maternal health is really for people to take a hard look at how racism plays a role in maternal health. And you know, racism is now a new social determinant of health. It's the new public health crises. So there needs to be interventions with physicians and every clinician in the practice about how to be an anti-racist. I think that would help. I think as well understanding the nature of maternal health disparities and inequities, because many physicians don't know this, would help. I think that having Black women have access to doulas and midwives who are Black women as well could help reduce maternal mortality. And I think that really just seriously educating Black women, period, overall, about the risk they face when they have a child is going to be key in helping them make better decisions about where to go for care and who they want to be their caretaker and how they want to set up their care team, because that's what women should be told. They can set a care team up. And I think these would help. And also legislation. Policy has to change. I mean, New Jersey has it. Another state has legislation on the book for maternal health. And so there needs to be laws to hold lawmakers accountable for these issues. And that's what the policies do. And these statutes, they are going to help us to hold politicians accountable. So I think all these things will help. And there's a lot of them. It's complex, very complex, but there are a lot of layers. But I think all of those strategies I just mentioned really can help in some way. And giving Black women a voice, letting Black women have voice in their care, having a voice. We have been silenced for far too long. It's time for us to speak our truths in the doctor's offices. It's time for us to speak our truths to physicians and have them understand them and work with us through them as Black women move through the process of having a child. It's critical.